Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's edition of the Trump Revolution Report, news of the Trump Revolution, featuring Ivo Fisick, your friendly but revolutionary underground reporter. This episode is called Trump v. Fake News. Today's date is February 1st, 2017, day 13 of the Trump Revolution. On this episode, we'll talk Progressive Party press declares war on Trump, more firings on the way, Ellen poisons fish, and attacking Melania. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our top story. Reuters to cover Trump like he's a dictator. Of course, Reuters declares open war against President Donald Trump. Steve Adler of Reuters sends a letter to staff instructing them to cover Trump like they do China or Zimbabwe. Reuters Editor-In-Chief Steve Adler felt compelled to write a special message to his staff about how to cover Trump, quote, the Reuters way. Adler started off complaining about President Donald Trump, calling out the media for being the Progressive Party press that it is. Now, we want to make a note here. We want to note the crickets from Reuters. When former President Barack Hussein Obama, that's right, I said former and I still love saying it, went after Fox News and other not so friendly to progressives media, he whined, "It's not every day that a U.S. president calls journalists among the most dishonest human beings on earth." That sounds about right. I'm not disagreeing. Or that his chief strategist dubs the media the opposition party. That sounds about right. I mean, it sounds like the chief strategist, this is Steve Bannon. He's dead on, man. Steve Bannon is dead on. He is actually reporting factual news about the fake news. It's hardly surprising that the air is thick with questions and theories about how to cover the new administration. You know, folks, one of the things that I do here on Trump Revolution that I absolutely love doing is giving you the paraphrase. This is what he really means to say. Folks, this man means to expose us as the journalistic hacks, the Progressive Party press that we really are, and we have to do something to destroy this man. But we can't be obvious about it, because then we'd confirm the truth that we really are the opposition party's press. Now, he lays out some of the thoughts that the Progressive Party press folks are having, like possibly boycotting his briefings. He says of some of those ideas that they may be right for some news operations. That's right, boycotting the press briefings. That's something that may be right for some news operations. You just take that in, folks. But because these guys are the more noble Progressive Party press, Stephen Adler, has a better plan. You see, according to this journo hack, we already know what to do because we do it every day and we do it all over the world. Wait for it, folks, because the payoff is coming. 3, 2, and the payoff is here. He points out that they are used to reporting in countries where the, quote, media is unwelcome and frequently under attack. He goes on to cite some of these countries as Turkey, the Philippines, Egypt, Iraq, Yemen, Thailand, China, Zimbabwe, and Russia. And he continues, nations in which we sometimes encounter some combination of censorship, legal prosecution, visa denials, and even physical threats to our journalists. Of course, the implication here is that you may face some of those same things under President Donald Trump. This is the category that this Progressive Party press hack is now putting our president, Donald J. Trump, who dares to expose this organ of propaganda for the Progressive Party for what it is. He warns his fellow journal hacks that
We don't know yet how sharp the Trump administration's attacks will be over time, or to what extent those attacks will be accompanied by legal restrictions on our news gathering. But we do know that we must follow the same rules that govern our work anywhere.
Now, folks, there have been no mentions of legal restrictions on news gathering in America. None. To fill his staff with such baseless fears further illustrates the exact point that President Trump has been making. Now, let's remember what he said here, that we sometimes encounter some combination of censorship. No censorship going on in America. No talk of censorship. Legal prosecution. No talk of legal prosecution, anything along that line. Visa denials. No visas have been denied of journalists.
And even physical threats to our journalists.
Now, there may be some physical threats to the journalists, but they are not coming from the government. And I'm not justifying physical threats to journalists, but they're certainly not coming from government. They're coming from people who are sick and tired of you and your fake news. Now, think about it. One of the charges that first came out of the progressive camp was that any news outlet not part of the progressive family was somehow fake news. This was their strategy. This was their strategy to demonize and invalidate the media that was rising in opposition to their controlled Progressive Party press. And the whole fake news thing massively backfired because, as would be natural, the folks outside of that progressive family quickly exposed the real fake news, and it's coming from media outlets like Reuters, ABC News, CNN, Associated Press, etc. Now, here you have in this missive from the chief editor of Reuters a bit of actual fake news, a baseless charge that there might be legal restrictions on news gathering in America. Ironically, given the fake news item he's included in this letter, this journo hack states, as a capper,
when we hear rumors, we track them down and report them only when we are confident that they are factual.
You do realize you are actually spreading a rumor while you're saying you don't spread rumors. I sometimes wonder if some of these people are double operatives, that they're actually secretly working for the Trump agenda, that they're making progressives look intentionally stupid, because that's essentially what Adler has done here in this wonderful letter that actually exposes Reuters and the rest of the Progressive Party press for what it really is. It's opposition hack agitprop. The reason this progressive operative felt compelled to write this epistle to his journo pals in Reuters is that he needed to telegraph very clearly from the top that the war against Trump was fully on. But be careful to not appear to be engaging in an agitprop war, a war not meant to provide people with information to form their own opinions, but one meant to fundamentally undermine and hinder President Donald Trump and his administration. The Progressive Party press means to step up its assault against anyone who opposes their hopes and dreams of controlling your lives, of forcing you to act and think as they do. Whatever they think they can get away with, they'll do. This, in part, is why we are here at the Trump Revolution, to fight back against their assaults, to get real information out, to expose the efforts of an enemy that seeks nothing short than to destroy your liberties and your beliefs. Ellen DeGeneres uses Finding Dory to attack Trump. Talk show host Ellen DeGeneres uses her Hollywood platform to virtue signal her support for open borders. Ellen DeGeneres went full political on her show on Tuesday, January 31st, 2017. She used her Hollywood platform to virtue signal her Hollywood progressive audience her opposition to President Trump's temporary travel ban on 7 countries, all identified by former President Obama as being countries of risk to American security. Now, never mind the facts. She had a pro-progressive crowd and a giant Hollywood platform, and she wasn't going to waste it. She was responding to news that President Trump screened the Disney film Finding Dory. DeGeneres did the voice for the main character, Dory, who has problems with short-term memory, not unlike the progressives who have selective short-term memory, like forgetting Trump's temporary ban was almost the same as one that former President Obama did in 2011, a ban that DeGeneres had nothing to say about at the time. She started off saying, "Thanks for being here. You're the only people not protesting now." And that statement in and of itself reveals her thinking that everyone, of course, everyone, of course, is a progressive. She sets up her screening by saying,
Like I said, I don't get political,
I'm going to get political here.
so I'm not going to talk about the travel ban. I'm just going to talk about the very non-political, family-friendly People's Choice Award, Finding Dory. Well, formerly non-political, but more on that later. Of course, she then proceeds to get highly political. Part of her commentary reads, Even though Dory gets into America, she ends up separated from her family. But the other animals help Dory. Animals that don't even need her. Animals that don't have anything in common with her. Oh, I wonder what she's saying. They help her even though they're completely different colors.
oh yes, because racism.
Because that's what you do when you see someone in need.
You help them, and the audience went wild. Yeah, yelling, finally, someone said it. This is the tired old tactic progressives use that goes something like this. If you're not doing it my way, you want to murder children in their sleep. Having a position of wanting to make sure that you have the right security measures in place to let people come into your country does not mean you don't want to help people in need. It means you want to do the basic job of the federal government to provide for the common defense. But again, never let facts get in your way, Ellen. It should also be pointed out that the efforts of providing a secure method for vetting people that come into the country from countries former, I love saying that, President Obama identified as security risks for the United States will actually enable the United States to help more people. Here's how it works, folks. You provide to the American people a clear roadmap for security, one that follows for proper vetting of people, identifying those sincerely in need and those who might have other reasons for entering the country. Now, if you have that roadmap, then the American people will support allowing more people in need to come into the country. 57% of Americans, according to a recent Rasmussen poll, support the temporary ban. And I'm sure if you provide them a clear roadmap for security, that most Americans will support helping more refugees. But again, Ellen goes on feels, not facts. And she might be doing more harm than good to the very people she allegedly wants to help. Finally, she ends the show with a little, I guess, a shout out to the militant feminists when she says,
Tune in next week when I explain women's rights, talking about the movie
Mr. Wrong. Now, DeGeneres also starred in that movie. A story of a woman who meets a man who seems perfectly wonderful, then turns out to be a clingy, insane stalker. But some things, folks, you have to see to believe. So here it is.
like I said, I don't get political, so I'm not going to talk about the travel ban. I'm just going to talk about the very non-political, family-friendly, People's Choice Award-winning Finding Dory. Of course, Finding Dory is about a fish named Dory, and Dory lives in Australia, and these are her parents, and they live in America, and I don't know what religion they are, but her dad sounds a little Jewish. Doesn't matter. Dory arrives in America with her friends Marlin and Nemo, and she ends up at the Marine Life Institute behind a large wall, and they all have to get over the wall. And you won't believe it, but that wall has almost no effect in keeping them out. Even though Dory gets into America, she ends up separated from her family. But the other animals help Dory, animals that don't even need her, animals that don't even have anything in common with her. They help her even though they're completely different colors, because that's what you do when you see someone in need. You help them. So that is what I hope everyone who's watching Finding Dory has learned. Tune in next week when I explain women's rights, talking about the movie Mr. Wrong.
Now, one last comment before we leave this virtue-signaling Hollywood elite, Ellen DeGeneres. Finding Dory is a children's movie. It's intended to reach a broad audience, not just Ellen's safe space progressive audience in her little studio in Hollywood. Many people worked on this film. Many people put a lot of money into this film. Many people are hoping the film continues to make more money for them through DVD sales, merchandising, etc. Never mind, in addition to that, sequels? Well, they paid DeGeneres a lot of money to do the voice for Dory. And how did she represent? How did she pay them back? She just took a perfectly good children's movie, a non-political, as she said in the very beginning here, a non-political children's movie, family-friendly, and turned it into a progressive agit-prop piece in support of open borders. She just cut out 57% of a potential market for further revenue, because you can be sure that those folks will no longer be interested in purchasing anything associated with this now political hot potato. Finding Dory, the story of American open borders, by Ellen, I just screwed everyone over who worked on this film, DeGeneres. Way to help out other people, Ellen. Way to help out other people. Trump to fire more career bureaucrats. Trump aide says expect plenty more firings after Yates. Dr. Jan Halper-Hayes says don't be surprised by more firings of people who have openly stated their plans to undermine President Trump's policies. Trump aide Dr. Jan Halper-Hayes revealed in an interview with BBC Radio 41 on January 31st, 2017, that you might expect more firings from President Trump over the coming days and weeks. The Progressive Party press has been in fake uproar over the firing of former Acting Attorney General Yates. Dr. Halper-Hayes challenged what she called the, quote, liberal media for their efforts to somehow paint this firing as apparent chaos. Halper-Hayes pointed out that it was not at all unusual for this president to fire an acting attorney general that had not only refused to carry out the president's order, but had commanded the whole Justice Department to do the same. The proper move for then acting Attorney General Yates would have been to resign, not to blatantly disregard orders, but instead, Yates chose a grandstanding path, a path I wouldn't be surprised was orchestrated between her and the Progressive Party press, waiting for another controversy to attempt to delegitimize a president who is dismantling everything the progressive hate machine has worked so hard in building up. Halper said of the firings to come, quote, I expect quite a few more because there are at least 20 to 30% of career service individuals who have said they're either thinking about retiring, quitting, that they will thwart his policies. And the fact of the matter is that the other career individuals in the Justice Department had approved this, meaning the executive order on refugees. Dr. Halper-Hayes said about the firing of Yates, quote, I do not think that this is dramatic. Yes, if it had been Obama, if it had been Clinton, if it had been someone else, but really, I think we're going to see a lot more of this, unquote. And what she means is, if somebody from your own party had fired someone from your own party, that would be more dramatic. But it's certainly not a surprise if a president fires people who plan on undermining his policies within the department. We look forward to the firings of the members of the progressive hate machine. It's not enough to win elections against these types of ideologues. You must remove them completely from any semblance of power and make the very name progressive synonymous with hate, because that's what progressivism is. California senator calls for Melania Trump's work visa papers. That's right, California Senator Nancy Skinner trolls Melania Trump because feels. From the state flagship of the progressive hate machine, California, comes this bit of trolling from a Democratic state senator named Nancy Skinner. She's upset at the president's stance against cities that violate federal laws, so-called sanctuary cities. In retaliation, she thought it would be swell to drag First Lady Melania Trump into the melee. Classy move here. Skinner is calling for Melania Trump to release her work visa papers from when she first entered the country back in, wait for it, folks, wait for it, are you waiting for it? Got to go way back to 1996. That's right, more than 21 years ago. And she's following on the heels of a Progressive Party press story, this one by the flagship of the PPP, Associated Press. And that story, they said that Melania Trump was paid over $20,000 for a modeling job 7 weeks before she had legal permission to do so. Now, for the record, no one is actually disputing her legal status in the United States today. And even the Progressive Party press has to acknowledge that this seems more like trolling than any legitimate query. And dragging up an incident that happened 20 plus years ago is, well, it's frankly just in bad form. Now, folks, let me give you a clue here. When the Progressive Party press questions the tastefulness of what you're doing, perhaps you have gone too low. I mean, their standards are pretty low to start with. So if you're lower than their standards, folks, you may want to reconsider what you're doing. But you know, this is California, and nothing is too low for California lawmakers. These are the lawmakers that basically want to confiscate all of your guns. That's who these folks are. So, color me not surprised. Also, for the record, in September, Melania Trump tweeted out a letter from her immigration attorney that documented the incident in 1996 was perfectly legal. But you know, folks, never let facts get in the way of good trolling, because otherwise, you're not a troll. I thought the progressives were the party of women. That's interesting. Why then is the Progressive Party hack Nancy Skinner unfairly, unjustly attempting to troll another woman, the First Lady, Melania Trump? Well, I'll tell you why. Because she's not a card-carrying member of the progressive hate machine. If you are not a card-carrying member of the progressive hate machine, then whether you're black, whether you're a woman, whether you're gay, all of those other categories that progressives want to give special treatment to, you lose all that special treatment if you're not a member of the progressive hate machine. Well, good luck with this query, Nancy. And if I was Melania, I would probably respond with, well, I might not respond at all. Thank you for joining us on this Trump Revolution Report, bringing you daily news of the Trump Revolution, featuring Ivo Fisick, your underground revolutionary reporter. Join us tomorrow for another edition of Trump Revolution Report from trumprevolution.com. TrumpRevolutionUSA.com. You can find out more about the Trump Revolution. And be sure you join the fight at join.TrumpRevolutionUSA.com. To keep track of our latest videos, go to video.TrumpRevolutionUSA.com. And to keep track of the latest news, go to news.TrumpRevolutionUSA.com. Be sure you like, share, comment, join, subscribe, all that. All of our network of Trump Revolution USA sites and social media platforms.